الرجال قوامون على النساء تعني أن جنس الرجال مفضل على جنس النساء، يعني الأفضلية جنس الرجال أفضل من جنس النساء، ولا ينفي هذا أن يكون في آحاد النساء من هن خير من آحاد الرجال. آحاد النساء قد تكون خيرا من آحاد الرجال، حتى قيل في بعض النساء امرأة ب1000 رجل. بما فضل الله الرجل على المرأة؟ من أوضح الواضحات أن الرجل أقوى من المرأة، وأكثر منها صبرا، وأعظم جلدا، وأثبت قلبا. الرجل يعني لو روح في منتصف الليل من عمل بعيد مع الجبال والشعاب فإن هذا في نظره أمر مقدور عليه، لكن المرأة لا تقوى على مثل هذا. الرجل لو طلب منه أن يحمل سلاحه ويقف في طرف الصحراء يحرس الثغور فإنه يفعلها، لكن المرأة لو أعطيتها دبابة محصنة وقلت لها نريد منك أن تحرس الثغور هنا وهي مغلقة عليها فإنها لا تجرؤ على ذلك.
Their names are Hagar, Hila, Tal, Sarah, Michal, Karni, Ophir, and Tamar. Only 20 girls, give or take, but these tank women and other members of their unit made history on the 7th of October. The first women in Israel, probably in the entire world, who fought in an armoured battle. A heroic battle in which they saved an entire kibbutz and killed dozens of terrorists. In this photograph, which is published here for the first time, you see the tank of Karni, the company commander, storming the gate of Kibbutz Holit, on its way to cleanse the kibbutz terrorists. The day of their battle began on the morning of October the 7th, when the terrorists breached the Gaza fence. The tankers were fairly far away, in another sector on the border of Egypt at their base in Nitzanit. They began moving with two types of vehicles, tanks and a type of armoured vehicle, the Killer, towards the north. The tanks raced, very untypically, dozens of kilometres on the way to the settlements around Gaza. Near the Sufa outpost, they encountered dozens of terrorists rushing towards them and advancing towards the fence. They noticed a huge opening created by the terrorists and left one tank there on guard. The tank of the platoon commander, Shaked, would from now on prevent Gazans from continuing to pass through the breach in the fence towards Gaza or towards Israel. The rest of the company continued to Kibbutz Holit. At the same time, Michal, another platoon commander, moved with her tank to help in the battle at Kibbutz Sufa. For 6 hours, they fought alongside the troops from other units, hitting dozens of terrorists, removing the murderers from the kibbutzim. This week, a month and a half later, we met them for the first reenactment of the day of the battle that will go down in the history books.
We had two tanks always on standby, whose destination is the border of Egypt. I gave them an order to drive on the roads towards Egypt, towards the fence, and told them we will meet on the way.
It's very unusual to tell the tanks.
Very unusual. Very unusual.
Leave the section and drive north on the road.
This is very unusual, but between the reports of 6:30 and 7:30 in the morning, we understood this was something on a different magnitude.
I actually decided to upload Michal's tank on the Philadelphia route. I told her, get on the unit's network and just drive north. Be available for orders.
We moved north towards Sufa. That's actually where we saw the first encounter. A pickup loaded with conscious wounded. The commander of our force, the company commander, went up to the roof of her vehicle, operated the weapons, and basically crushed the pickup.
When we got to Sufa, there we saw the truck crashed on the road with the wounded outside. So that's when it dawned on me that we're really in combat and hearing massive shooting all around us. And they told us it's terrorists. There, I got the picture. We really were at war.
I got there. I identified the brigade commander. 2 vehicles and people behind the vehicles. They were wounded there too. And I started hearing gunshots from the north of the road.
I saw dozens of terrorists on the road, with vans, motorcycles, RPGs. I even fired one bullet in the air to make sure it's not our soldiers. Then a fierce firefight began, about half an hour. We're in. They are outnumbered, even approaching our direction. And the tank, which came out of the sector and made all this trip on the route, actually coming. I'm getting on the tank.
The brigade commander entered my tank. He told me they were fired on from the north, and that there are terrorists all over, in all the trees north of us. I immediately loaded my stuff. The whole team just told me that they identified terrorists, and we started shooting. Starting by firing machine guns at terrorists who are closer to us, and we continued to fire shells at the terrorists a bit further away. I saw the hits, I saw them fall.
Hilla and I stayed in on the vehicle. Tal to operate all communication devices, understand the situation to help the brigade commander with communications. Hilla and I are on Route 232. I sat in the driver's seat, Hilla sat in the killer, which is the system of the heavy machine gun. She actually told me that she recognized a number of terrorists there, that I should open the window for her to be able to fire.
It is important to say that none of us knew how to use it. It's a system that no one knew how to use. It's a qualification you have to pass in the army. None of us knew. In about 10 minutes, we all became experts. We knew exactly how to operate it, how to shoot it, how to maneuver every lever.
Just learning, like that in the field, at that moment, how to deal with a situation. As soon as 50 terrorists pass you, and you watch videos, and you know that the route axis is threatened by anti-tank weapons and RPGs and terrorists in every corner, so of course you say, well, maybe I'll be the next victim in a second.
At this point, while fighting, when they encountered dozens of terrorists and eliminated them, the company commander, Captain Kari, dispatched a third tank from Nitsana, commanded by Sergeant Ophir. Now, there were 3 tanks with armor.
And what balanced the weight was seeing 50 terrorists flocking in my direction, towards the vehicle, towards the killer, towards the tank. There, Michal began to make contact with the enemy.
From the moment Carney told me to get on the Philadelphia route and drive towards Gaza, I understood that this was a serious matter, not something we do every day. A feeling of adrenaline in the body, to prepare the team, prepare it for the real thing that we're going to do.
After about 2 hours of fighting, so my sergeant's tank, which was a little further south of me, coming to me and my platoon commander went into my sergeant's tank, and we were fighting, me and my platoon commander, both tanks together, and we attacked the fence. We saw, first of all, the rows of trees with burnt terrorists. You see the bodies of the terrorists, and we reached a breach in the fence.
I attacked, machine gun fire, ensuring the destruction of everything around. And if we thought that 50 terrorists was supposedly the end, it was only the beginning. We understood that there are apparently hostages there, terrorists inside the kibbutz. I leave the platoon commander's tank there, and I tell her, no matter what comes from that route, you open fire. You have permission. If in doubt, of course check. But no matter what comes from the north to the south, you fire. And movement begins with the brigade commander. The driver actually identified 2 terrorists and reported to me that she recognizes 2 terrorists. And I told her, just run them over. She ran over them and moved on and prevented more of them coming. We got to the entrance of the settlement and saw the gate closed, and a soldier came to me. Like such a blur, running to me in a panic, raised his hands and shouted, "Terrorists, terrorists! Enter the kibbutz, terrorists!" And we broke into the place, took the momentum with the tank, broke the yellow gate. The hand of that soldier pointed and said, "Look, there's a shell there, there's terrorists there." I asked him, "Are there civilians there?" He said, "I don't know, fire a shell there." I decide not to shoot a shell there. We're talking about an Israeli community. I fired machine guns into the entrance of the house.
The tank fired, both machine guns and shells, even within the community. Basically a very complex fight. The terrorists did not fight the tank. They fought, And when the tank came, they either ran or they died.
The fighting continued there until around 8 in the evening, until we made sure the area was clean, that the community was safe, and you evacuated the civilians.
Was this the first time you shot people, terrorists?
I feel like it was exactly how I prepared for it in training. There are exercises for everything, and just doing what the mind knows and what the hands know.
You saved a lot of lives in Khalit, in the end, including the whole kibbutz.
Right. When you're at that moment in the event, you don't think, wait, I'm saving him. I'm saving this house. You understand that there's a terrorist here, and I must kill him before he reaches one of my communities.
How many hours in a row did you fight?
Around 17 hours.
Inside the tank?
Yes.
The female tankers who came with their tanks basically broke the attack in both places that the tanks came directly under terrorist fire. The terrorists were mostly eliminated, and those who weren't just fled because they realized they had no chance. And the girls inside the tanks, the fighters, with 3 tanks at this stage of the attack. They fought brilliantly, fought in a way that they were apparently not even trained for, carried on shooting inside Israeli communities, drove on roads. And I think thanks to these actions, an attack further south was also prevented. All the settlements in the Hevel Shalom area, no terrorists reached them. Thanks to the arrival of the troops from the Paran Brigade and the tankers, which were so significant at this stage of the attack.
You kept saying heroines and history, and I personally don't feel like a hero. I feel that I'm a warrior who has been given orders, and she did her job, and I believe that anyone would do it.
We're the only female tank fighters in the world. Very skillful, very professional.
There are no other armies that have...
No, there are no other Western armies at all that have female tank fighters in them. It's really a chapter in history, something huge. Both girls in armor and warriors in general, charged, covered, functioned, treated the wounded in an inspiring way.
So is that old debate behind us?
I think it is no longer relevant. After this war, it will be clear. Also the need, and also the proof of the clear ability that was here.
Chief of Staff, Major General Herzi Halevi, found time yesterday in the middle of fighting to meet the tankists who made history. He knows that after what they did on the 7th of October, the debate about integrating women into the armed corps is over. These girls proved the women in the tank will win.